Everyone, I'm Derek from Karate Magazine, and I'm sitting here with Frank Turner, who just wrapped up a great set for us. Played a few songs, and now he's kind enough to stick around and chat with us. So, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll kind of start back at the beginning. When you first went solo, you dubbed your EP for CP Campfire Punk Rock, which to me kind of really perfectly fits your sound. Is that something that you coined, or is that something that was bestowed upon you?
I was, you know what? I was doing a gig in Dundee, which is a town in Scotland, and I was opening for someone, can't remember who, and I was having a cigarette outside after the show, and this guy who was wasted drunk came like falling out of the front door of the building and went, yeah, Campfire Punk Rock here, and then just kind of staggered off into the darkness. And I thought, yeah, I'll have that.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll take that. And then, you know what, before the EP came out, I did actually go to some efforts to try and find out, like, who this guy was. But, I mean, you know, I called my friends in Dundee, and I was like, yeah, he was a drunk punk guy. And they were like, come on, man, yeah, throw me a bone here. So I don't know who it was, but it was a guy in Dundee.
Cool. Did you give a shout-out to him in your liner notes?
Yeah, in the liner notes it actually says, yeah, thanks to the drunk guy, drunk punk in Dundee.
Excellent.
But like I say, who knows who he may have been.
Cool. Well,
you know, I'm sure there's a bunch of people who claim it was them now.
Right, yeah, taking credit.
Yeah.
Well, now, you know, you're about to release on June 6th here in the States, or June 6th in the UK, June 7th here. You're about to release your new record, England, Keep My Bones. I guess what's been the most proud thing about writing this album, making this album? What are you most proud about?
You know what? I think, I read an interview with Nick Cave once, who's one of my... I am answering the question. I read an interview with Nick Cave once, who's one of my guiding lights, and it was... And he's somebody who constantly surprises me with his continued awesomeness and creativity and all the rest of it. And he said that he felt like every time he wrote a record, he was scraping the bottom of the barrel, and every time he wrote, he was kind of worried about whether he would have another record in him, kind of thing. And that was a real kind of relief to read that, because I know what he means, kind of thing. And I threw everything into the previous record I had, and there was a moment, I mean, quite a long time ago now, but where I was kind of wondering where I was going to go with the new record, and I feel like I've I think they're good songs, and I think it takes me... It's not new places, as in I haven't taken a radical left-hand turn. I haven't made a drum and bass record or anything like that this time. But, I've kind of broken some new ground, and I've written some songs that I'm real proud of. I think some of them are some of the best songs that I've written in my life, in my opinion. And it's just kind of... Yeah, it's just kind of nice to know that the tap's still flowing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm really proud of it as a record.
Cool. How would you say? You said it's not not much of a departure for you, but would you say what's the difference between, say, all the way back to Campfire Punk Rock?
It's just I just feel like I've gone further down the road. It's the same road, but just
grown up a little bit.
Yeah, but also there's a brass section on some songs on this record. I've never recorded with brass before, and there's an a cappella song on the record, just vocals, and just little things like that, stuff I've never tried before, and also, lyrically, just trying to sort of push myself a little more to kind of be a bit more adventurous, a bit more kind of like out there kind of thing, and it's good. I think I took longer writing this record than the previous records I've done, and that felt good as well, because in a way, in the past, I've kind of sort of rushed into things quite a lot, which sometimes I think is a really positive, healthy thing to do, to just kind of just do it, you know what I mean, and don't think about it kind of thing. But this time I spent a bit more time kind of digging around, trying to make sure that things are as good as they could be.
So brass on this record, and then drum and bass will come later.
Drum and bass for the next album, yeah, that's what it's going to be.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, as a lot of your fans are aware of, you started out with Million Dead, and have since, in the last 6 or 7 years, gone your own way, put together a band that you're kind of leading. What would you say is the best thing about going solo, and then what's the thing you miss most about being in a band like Million Dead?
Well, the control is great. I mean, Million Dead was a democratic band, and the better for it, and that was cool. But it also kind of meant, we nearly broke up once arguing about the album artwork of our first record. It's ridiculous, and it's kind of nice having done that for quite a long time to go into a situation of actually, I control all aspects of what I do, and that feels good. It's kind of, in a way, I feel like being solo, it's kind of like everything's just kind of amplified. If things go well, then it's better because you take all the credit. And if things go badly, then it's worse because you take all the flack. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now that I have the Sleeping Souls, like the band that I've been playing with, I mean, they're not with me right now, but they will be.
They toured with you and they recorded the record with you.
Yeah. They're great. And I sort of feel like I sort of have the best of all worlds because the things that I miss being solo is kind of the camaraderie thing, you know, and I mean, I did an awful lot of touring just completely on my own, you know, not even with a tour manager or anything like that. And, you know, it gets pretty lonely and there's a lot of tour stories I have that I can't really share with anybody because there wasn't really anybody else there, you know. But then, so now I get the kind of camaraderie thing. I got my boys we're like a little pirate ship traveling around the world in a bus or whatever. But at the same time, you know, I still retain the kind of dictatorial control from a creative angle. So I feel like I'm totally having my cake and eating it at the same time.
Cool. And as you just mentioned, you're kind of known for being this touring machine. So has life on the road kind of become what you feel is normal for you, and is it hard to slip back into non-touring mode? Yeah,
definitely. That's the thing. You know what? I mean, I do kind of have a rep for touring all the time, and people think that, well, some people think that it's kind of impressive in some way. But for me, it's just kind of, that's what being a musician is playing. You know, it's not really anything I consciously think about very much or anything like that. You know, I like playing and I want to be a professional musician and that's what I do. So I mean, and it does actually, I do get a bit kind of antsy going home now, you know, get a little bit climbing up the walls. I was in one place for a couple of months at the start of this year actually because we were working on the new record, and that was I got pretty kind of itchy feet towards the end of that time.
Well, if I'm right, you recently played your thousandth gig, which is such a feat. Did you do anything kind of special for that, or?
Well, kind of. I mean, I kind of noticed that it was coming up, and initially I didn't care because it was just like, you know, it's like a number going over on the milometer, you know. But then it was like, actually, that would be kind of cool. And I was in Berlin, then I was in Australia, and then I was coming to Canada, and I wanted it to be in the UK, so we stopped off in London on the way through, and some friends of mine run an organisation called Stromerville, which is set up by Joe's kind of friends and family, and they organise kind of charity shows, and they kind of coincidentally asked me if I'd be interested in doing one around that kind of time. And it just sort of came together really nicely, so we had a kind of wild party in a car park in East London, had about 1,000 people there, and kind of invited my friends and family down, and had a really good time. Got super wasted. It was good.
Well, you're celebrating, so.
Yeah, totally. It was a great time. But then you know what? Almost in a way, almost my favourite thing was that I got on a plane a couple of days later and went to Canada and just did more shows, you know, and just kept going, you know. And the road winds on. I've got like 60 shows in my calendar between now and August, you know. That makes me feel good.
Well, speaking of your kind of touring prowess and the road, I've got to ask about your video for the song "The Road," where you play 24 shows in 24 hours. Kind of, how did that come about, and did you nail every show? Or
well, that was it was one of those. Me and the director Adam were having a conversation about concepts for the video, and it was kind of one of those things where one-upmanship kind of got a little out of hand. You know, it was kind of like, well, you know, we should do a video that's about kind of traveling and movement and shows and stuff like that. And then he was kind of like, you know, we could have you just kind of on a bunch of different kind of far-flung locations. And then it was like, I could play a bunch of shows and then you know, just bam, 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 suddenly, and then someone said 24 shows in 24 hours. And then the minute it was said, this kind of horrible silence descended on the room because we both know that's what we had to do.
You have to do it.
And it was, you know what, it's one of those things that I'm glad I did, and it's really fun looking back on it, but it was not fun quite a lot of the time. I mean, you know what, so the first kind of like, we did like the first 8 shows, and it was like, this is a breeze, man, this is going to be easy. And then it's like, we still got 16 more to go. And the worst part was kind of, because we did kind of, I think we did 8 p.m. till 8 p.m., doing one every hour kind of thing. And then when it got to about 11 a.m., that wasn't fun. It was just kind of like we've been awake all night. And some of the shows were kind of like people's houses, and there'd be like 10 people there kind of thing. And it's 11 a.m. and they've all just got up, and we're all kind of, because I had a kind of crew of people coming around with me. So, you know, yeah, good to do. Don't particularly want to do it again. Adam did actually suggest a way of topping it, but this would require a lot more money, a lot more logistical planning, and you would have to convince me to actually do it. But the idea was to get a helicopter and do 24 shows in 24 different cities in 24 hours.
Wow.
But you'd have to organise gigs at helipads. I don't know. I don't really know how flying helicopters works. It's not really my scene.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, maybe that's in store for the new record.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know anyone who owns a helicopter, so we'll have to work on that.
Well, anyone out there that does,
anyone with a helicopter, get in touch.
Yeah, and thanks for coming by.
It's my pleasure, man. It's nice to be in San Francisco.
Yeah, as you've probably gathered, you can probably see Frank in a number of locations. So check out his site for tour information, and make sure to watch the rest of the songs that we have for you at our session here. And again, England Keep My Bones out June 7th. In the States and June 6th in the UK.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me, man.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.